I wasn't really blessed with height, which is meant that for all of my life, I've played guard in basketball, and not much of a ball handler, so more of a shooting guard. Unfortunately, I don't have much of a shot yet. That is why for the next week, I will be attempting to shoot every day to improve my jump shot and to finally become a true shooting guard. So this is just footage of me first getting in the gym for day one. Ooh, look at the move. Step back. Cash. I'm sort of just joking, but I'm looking at this footage mainly just to see sort of how I'm shooting on every shot, if there's any difference in, obviously the distance of the shot or off the dribble. My biggest issue that I've already noticed to begin with is the consistency of my shot, where I'll have different sort of heights that I take off from or different, forms that I shoot depending on whether it's, catch and shoot versus off the dribble. So my big concern and something that I really want to get done with immediately is just finding that consistent form and finding that consistent shot to move on with. So after just shooting around for a bit, I tested myself by doing the 3-point contest. So that's taking 5 shots in the 2 corners, the 2 elbows, and then top of the key or top of the 3-point line. So here I am in the corners. Don't get a great shot of me doing it, but I do believe I sink 3 of my 5 shots, which is pretty good for me. I kind of struggle with corners. I move on to the elbow here. And speaking of elbow, I'm noticing that I really tuck my elbow for my shooting, and something I'm going to try and do, and hopefully we'll see progress in the rest of the video, is by me sort of centering myself, centering that shot. So it's not nearly as crooked, I guess, with my right arm. You can see me miss there, doing a lot of that. So I believe I got 2 in this spot. Now moving on to the top of the 3-point line. Miss, but close. Here I could really feel in real time my sort of form slipping. I think part of that comes with the fatigue of running around and taking these shots. So I believe that's 2 right there, taken from the top of the key. I think that it was banked in. But yeah, you can see I'm going from being short to being long. I'm sort of feeling a little bit gassed here. Moving on to the other elbow. This is a nice shot where you can see exactly where my form is. Another thing that I'm noticing early on, and maybe it's because it is fast forwarded, but I do feel like I'm not really getting a lot of height with my jump shot as I make 2 nice ones there in a row. So that's another thing I'm going to be looking to do. A big emphasis through this shooting that I tried to focus on was foot placement and sort of lining myself up. But as you start to get more fatigued, especially getting through all these shots and running to get the ball, you start to lose that form, as we'll pretend that that wasn't an air ball. So this should be my 3rd shot in the corner. Let's see. Nope, not quite. So corners are somewhere that I struggle especially, and you can start to tell that with the fatigue, with me running around, I'm not making the shot as much as I maybe was at the beginning. Money. So after reviewing, I made a total of 10 shots out of 25, which would give me a percentage of 40, which is actually, in NBA terms, a pretty good 3-point percentage. Obviously, that would be in a game setting and also being defended. So, to be honest, I'm hoping to get that number closer to about 50%. And as you can see right here, what I was talking about specifically with my arm, my right arm, you can see that elbow out quite a bit. My shoulders aren't exactly aligned. My left is pretty much straight down, whereas my right is sort of off to the side as I'm holding the ball and reaching up. So to close out the day, I went back to the 3-point drill. Maybe a little bit less successful here. I also turned it on time-lapse and did not realize how fast it was going to look. So it's hard to break down my shots. It's just a good way of seeing the way that I'm taking off. I guess on my jump shots is the form as well. I moved on to close out with free throw shooting. Free throw shooting is sort of a good gauge of shooting, and it translates pretty well to 3-point shooting. So here I'm just looking to sort of create my form. I have a little bit of a routine, 2 bounces, take a break, bounce the 3rd time. It's just sort of the repetition that I'm hoping to get with my jump shot as well, where I can hit it consistently. So I start off here by making 4 in a row, miss that one. But it is a good way. Obviously, you're not allowed to jump. You have to stay behind the line. It's just a good way of repeating the form over and over and over. So missed 2 in a row. I'm 4 for 6 for right now. See how I close out. Again, nice there. Another thing I'm going to be looking to do is sort of releasing a little bit higher than I normally would, just because in a real game setting, I'm not the tallest. I have not been blessed with height, so I would want it to release a little bit higher just to try and get it over defenders. So I'm about to close out here, and I will go 8 for 10 from the free throw line. Day one thoughts. It's kind of frustrating just working through the mechanics of my shot, and I think if I were just, shooting around normally, it wouldn't be nearly as infuriating, but it's almost like I'm getting a root canal or something, where of course, since I'm focusing on the mechanics and I'm focusing on tinkering, I'm not going to make as many to start with, but I'm almost starting new in a way, or starting fresh with the form and everything like that. So day one, honestly, kind of angering, but optimistic for day two, start putting it together and getting more consistent. Started off day two by just taking some more 3-point shots, no particular order, just sort of trying to get that form down, repeat it. Can see still struggling a bit to start off with. Real points of emphasis here, you may notice I'm starting to keep my arm a little bit closer, still have that sort of elbow out, but trying to really square my body, keep my head straight, my arm straight as much as I can. Just taking a little bit more time and thought with every shot that I put up. You'll notice not necessarily translating it, but in this corner shot, take the time, shoot, make it. Nice shot of my water bottle here, but the main point of this was to try and slow down, look at exactly how I'm releasing, how I'm coming up, and how I can really fix that right arm from being out as much as it is. After getting a chance to look at my shot, I went back to just sort of shooting more freely. I tried to let my body tell me what it should do in terms of my form and where my arm should be. Stop thinking so much about exactly what my form should be like and more what felt natural, and then trying to correct it from there. And I actually got on a pretty good streak of making shots. You'll notice that, as I talked about before, I got my feet off the ground a little bit more of a hop. My shot, my arch is a lot higher than I started out with. It's not nearly as flat of a shot. I still have my right arm out a little bit, but I'm realizing that when I take my shots, I'm also at a bit of an angle. I'm not directly facing it. So that's just part of my way of going up. So I'm not going to try and stop it from happening. I'm just going to try and keep it from being all the way out, sort of tucking it in a little bit more. It also helps me get the shot up and out quicker. As you can see here, I'm making a couple shots. Kind of impressed so far. Good streak going on. And this is when I really felt like it was all sort of coming together. To close out the day, I took my 10 free throws here. Just sort of trying to replicate the shots that I was taking from 3 in the form of my free throws. You can see here, getting on a good streak. I think this is the best streak that I've had to start out with. I believe I make 5 in a row. So I felt pretty happy about how I was doing it. Again, it's all about just doing the same thing over and over and over. And that's what I'm going to be doing in these next couple days. A lot of the same stuff. First miss there. Off the back iron. But a lot of my makes were sort of going in the same way. It wasn't like they were hitting the side of the rim. They were kind of just going straight down, which is nice to see. As I say that, I got a little bit lucky there. Go up again, miss again. But I believe I go 7 for 10 from the free throw line here with that miss. Had to make sure, though, end the day on a make. Okay, so end of day 2. Think that my overall field goal percentage was a lot better than day 1. Spent the first half sort of focusing on mechanics, and that part was, was sort of boring, but focusing on footing, keeping my head straight, and same thing with my arms. And then second half, just trying to find that shot. Something I also started focusing more on was the flick. So the wrist involved in it, along with obviously the arms of getting the shot up, but feel a lot better after day 2 than day 1.
Not a great start to day 3. Basketball court was unfortunately closed for pickleball, so I think I'm probably just going to go to a park to get some shots up.
So I found a good park, and luckily nobody's here, so I don't feel embarrassed talking to a camera. I'm going to work on off the dribble shooting and catch and shoot, I guess. One big point of emphasis with the catch and shoot that I'm doing here is taking that little hop step before to sort of gather myself and also push back off so I can get my jump shot off here. So I'm coming at it from a couple different angles, catching the ball from a couple different sides. The idea being catching the ball and immediately going up, sort of using that spring in my step, but maintaining the form, maintaining my hand placement as much as I can. You'll notice that I do have a little bit of different release points from each time that I catch the ball. Part of the reason there being that I'm catching the ball at different points and I don't have my hands all the way on the seams. I then moved on to shooting off of the dribble. Same sort of idea, though not really having a consistent sort of place where I'm getting the ball, my hands on different parts of the seams, but still trying to maintain my form. You can still see that both catch and shoot and off the dribble, I'm doing that little hop, that sort of gather step to then go up and shoot, use that little bit of elevation there. I'm trying to maintain the same form, still a little bit funky, still getting used to it, and I'm also getting pretty fatigued from running and getting the ball and also going back up. So you'll see that my form starts to slip a little bit, but try and maintain it.
So a big thing that I've noticed so far is that shooting off the dribble and shooting off the catch, especially if it's that quick release, I don't really have the time to find my hands on the ball, whereas normally I would shoot like this, try and keep it like sort of in the middle. Catch and shoot, you kind of just get where the ball ends up at the seam. So I don't know if the catch, I'm gonna have to turn it a little bit more, or if I just have to get used to that release, finding, widening my hand maybe, getting grip, and then going up and shooting.
So I decided to show this clip without speeding it up at all. I'm just talking over it. This is going to show all of the progress that I've made to this point. So this is only after a couple of days, but I can already see that my jump shot is noticeably better. Talking about the release point, the speed that I'm releasing, that hop that I take before my shot is a good way of centering myself, keeping my arms straight a little bit more, so I'm not so much sticking my arm out like I was at the beginning. You can see it doesn't matter where I'm receiving the ball from or what part of the court that I'm shooting from. My form is pretty consistent, even fighting through the fatigue here of taking quite a few shots to begin with. Trying to maintain my form. This stretch here, I just sort of felt in the flow state. I felt pretty consistent in the way that my jumper was releasing, and obviously the results also showed it here as I get the ball, take the shot, make it. So yeah, this was really just cool to see after only a couple days work, just seeing how different my shot is and how I feel that visually and the results are much better. So as always, I had to close out with my free throws. I'm not really sure if it was the fatigue or I was just getting in my own head or a combination of those two things, but these free throws were especially excruciating. I'm also going to blame the double rim and the wind and any other excuse that I could make because the free throw shooting performance here was really appalling. I think at a certain point, I just started seeing the ball hit the rim and I just lost my form. There's no real consistency with the way that I'm shooting at this point, and the whole point of the practice is to see that form and be able to replicate it and repeat it. But I got to a certain point where I was just kind of chucking up the shot. So I don't think this is indicative of my work for the day or my progress, but it is definitely something that I'm going to have to try and iron out to try and keep that form, even if I'm shooting twos or free throws or anywhere on the court, that I'm maintaining that form and I'm maintaining the progress that I've had so far. And of course, I have to end on a make.
End of day 3, barring that terrible free throw shooting performance, I actually felt like today was pretty productive. It's getting to the point where the actual notes of the shooting that I've taken so far, I'm having to no longer think about them and I'm just doing them. Felt pretty fluid, and all of my misses were because of the double rim and not because of anything that was my fault.
It's a real stark contrast between the highs of day 3 and the lows of day 4. This is officially the halfway point of this experience, this challenge. Today I tried shooting a lot of mid-range, doing, 3-level scoring. But I don't know if it was the time that I was doing the shooting at or if it was just me feeling sluggish on the day, but it just felt really unproductive. I felt like I was actually regressing a little bit. I started overthinking a lot of my mechanics. This is the only real good stretch of shooting that I had throughout the entire day. I could just feel myself sort of getting frustrated. Shots weren't going in. It was probably a combination of things, but this is probably the worst that I've felt, the least confident that I've been. I sort of feel like a lot of the work that I've been doing has led to this moment, but I'm still not being able to take it in. I moved on to free throw shooting, which wasn't much more successful than my regular shooting. As you can see here, same thing. I did actually take something positive away from this, which would be my lift. Even though that I'm not jumping here, I'm able to get a little bit more spring just by bending my knees maybe more than I normally would. But yeah, the shooting performance, the free throw shooting performance, everything today was pretty bad, pretty sloppy. And I'm just kind of upset at myself knowing that I could do a lot better. But I was able to take away at least some positive, take some notes that I will then be able to take into tomorrow's work. And that's really what it's all about, progress, even if it's not linear, hopefully making those changes, adapting, and then being able to improve in the future and ultimately, get better as a shooter, even if that's not something that happens within a week, just working towards it. Went 5 for 10 from the line, and after a subpar day of shooting, had to try and close it out with a make. End of day 4, did not have a good day. It just was not making shots. I felt like I was, it felt very rigid the way that I was taking my shots, and I was thinking about every single action that I was doing. But I kind of had like an epiphany of, if I'm catching the ball or I'm going off the dribble, I'm never going to have the ball in the exact same spot. I'm always going to have it in a different way, different lighting of the seams. My hands are not going to be in the same place. So rather than trying to create the exact shot every single time that I'm touching the ball, just try and remember the intangible stuff, the very, these little tools that will help me gather the ball and shoot the ball. And then in these different situations where I am positionally, where I am with my ball, with my hands, then I'm going to be able to take that and make shots, hopefully. So we'll see if there's any more progress tomorrow. Beginning of day 5, starting off with some mid-range shooting. You can see it's not much of jump shooting. I'm really just working on the explosiveness, bending my knees going up. Obviously, increasing the range, you want to increase the power of both your jump and your arms. But right now, I'm really just working on sort of easing myself into shooting. Nothing too intense to start off with. Hopefully finding myself in the groove as I start to move on to more. I then transitioned to a sort of 3-level scoring drill where I would shoot a layup, then go for a mid-range shot, and then step back and shoot behind the arc. It was just a good way of testing my ability to score and to shoot from different points in the court, different sides of the court, and it was just a good way to warm up. I then did this a couple more times here, as you can see, sped it up a little bit, just so I can show I'm usually switching different sides of the court or alternating for every shot that I take. So make a layup on the right, shoot a mid-range on the left, take a 3-pointer on the right, and then alternating here. Just a good way, again, of finding different points of scoring on the court, really testing myself and my focus here. After the 3-level scoring drill, I moved on to just some standard 3-point shooting. You can see me here on the left side. I definitely feel like the warm-up was beneficial. I felt a lot more in the groove and a lot more natural shooting than if I had just gotten to the park and started shooting from 3 normally. So I'm definitely going to incorporate that more. And full transparency here, before this set of 10 free throws, I had 2 other sets of 10 free throws where I went 4 for 10 on both of them. I just wasn't really happy with my performance, and I was kind of kicking myself, and I felt like it would be a disservice to myself if I didn't try my best to at least get, above 500 or above 50% from the line. So you can see here, I start off a little bit slow, but again, sort of using that lower half to really explode on my free throw, obviously without jumping. I notice what I'm doing wrong here, and I kind of correct it. So even though I started out pretty bad, I think I went 1 for 3 to begin with, I sort of right the wrong. I get it better in the second half as I say that I miss a free throw. But in total, I believe I go 7 from the 10 from the line here, which is not great, but I really felt like obviously an improvement from 4 for 10 for sure. End of day 4. My shooting performance, I didn't feel like was great. It was better than yesterday, but I think that I'm just getting more accustomed to my shot. I'm being able to tell what is a make, what is a miss, which is short, which is long. Just feeling more comfortable after my free throws. I stayed a little bit extra just to try and make 3 3-pointers in a row. And even though it took a while, I just feel like overtime, working harder, I'm slowly making the change. So we'll see where I'm at tomorrow. Rough start to day 6, as I was somewhat unexpectedly evicted from the basketball court because of a yoga class. So what you're seeing now is pretty much the entire time that I spent shooting in the gym this morning. Really did not have much of a chance to do anything. See, I did a little bit of mid-range shooting there. I actually felt my shot was pretty good. Tried getting my free throws off really quick. Tried to get my 10, but instead I was told to leave. So had to relocate after this. So a couple hours and one wardrobe change later, I ended up taking my shots at the park. Did not really have all that great of a time. You can see here just doing some basic mid-range shooting. But to begin with, I felt pretty sluggish. I had recently eaten, which I think is something that I was not anticipating doing. It kind of affected just my mobility. I ended up feeling kind of lazy, but I still wanted to try my best to at least give the best effort that I could on the day. Moving on to free throws, there was a lot of shooting in between my warm-up mid-ranges and these free throws, but really hardly any makes. I was feeling really sluggish on the day. I was also starting to feel a little bit of pain in my ankles, possibly related to my footwear. But overall, today was just not a great day. But maybe in comparison to days of the past, today I really just thought about it more as a blip, not really indicative of my overall progression when it comes to shooting or just playing in general. But, considering it an outlier, and I think that's sort of how I'm maintaining my positivity, at least, is hoping that this is not something that will continue. But yeah, the free throw shooting was really not all that much better than the rest of the shooting that I had on the day. No real consistency with my forms or my makes or my misses. But overall, I go 4 for 10. Try to end on a make here, but sort of like the rest of the day, I miss, sluggish to go get the ball again. But of course, I'm going to try and end the day on a make. So it's the end of day 6, the last day before the big one. I had a really bad day shooting. Nothing really I felt like I improved on today, but that's fine. I think there were a lot of things that went wrong today, and I would rather get all the bad luck, bad energy out today rather than tomorrow. And even though this might be my worst performance of the entire 7 days, I'm not going to be too hard on myself just because I feel like, one day where I'm not feeling my best is indicative of the journey and the progress that I've made to this point. So I could be down on myself. I could be, upset that I really was not playing well or practicing well. But instead, I'm just going to, maintain a level head and go into tomorrow hoping to finally beat it. Day 7. We're here after a week of work. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't nervous, which is silly to think about because it really is just shooting a basketball. But I think I've just made a lot of, obviously, commitment in terms of time and effort, but mentally towards this, journey, even though it's really been a week. But I'm just proud of, regardless of whatever happens, performance-wise, I'm proud of the commitment that I've had to this point. And, again, it's only a couple of days, but I think that the whole journey so far has really been like refreshing, and I think it's something that I've kind of needed. So let's see how much better I got. Got into the gym and got right to work. Just started taking shots from a weak spot for me, which was the corners. Maybe not so much of a weak spot anymore. I feel like I've legitimately improved a lot. You can see in the footage and in my trials later. I feel like I really have improved my corner 3 shot. The number that I'm looking for in my shooting drill is 10. That is the number to beat. I realized that I accidentally took an extra shot when I did it the first time around, so I went 10 for 26, not 10 for 25. But still, giving myself the goal of 10 made shots on these 25 shots. 5 from each of the 5 points on the court, the 2 corners, the 2 elbows of the 3-point line, and then the top of the 3. getting some more shots up here, just getting some practice. I really, going into it, felt sort of in the flow state. Maybe I felt like I was properly trained by the double rims and the conditions of playing outside and sort of the failures of the past couple days. But I really felt pretty confident in my shot. I was getting a nice mix of shots around here, extending my range out to the 3-point line after starting a little bit closer, but really picking up from all of these different spots. And after a little bit more practice, it was time for me to take on the shooting drill. So this is the moment that I've been waiting for, my opportunity to show off my shooting skills. So I start here from the far corner, and I make it. It was a pretty good start. I felt pretty confident there. I go for my second shot. Unfortunately, not a make, but no need to worry. I felt like it was pretty similar to my first shot. I was getting some consistency pretty early on. Again, hitting that same sort of little bit to the left as opposed to a little bit to the right, and that's really just about my flick. But I'm 1 for 4 to this point, and then my fifth shot, that one really didn't help me out there. So I go 1 for 5. My goal is to get 2 shots from every spot, and I'm already behind the 8 ball there. So I make my second one, but still not doing too hot. It's around this point where I'm realizing that if I'm not making 2 from every spot, then I'm not going to be able to break my record. So I get to at least 3 here, but somewhere about halfway through, I really start overthinking it, and I think, where am I going to make up this shot? Where am I going to get my make from to make sure that I'm able to beat 10? And when you start doing that, you start no longer living in the present and thinking about the future, and you're not really able to control your shot in the way that you would hope to. So yeah, top of the 3 here. I don't even hit rim. I'm all out of sorts. Keep on moving though. Go for my last shot from the top. No good. So at this point, I'm pretty stressed out. I believe I only have made 4 to this point. Don't make that one. And I really have to tighten it up if I'm going to break my record here. Again, 2 pretty good shots, but very similar misses. Not really feeling too confident at this point. Make a 5th. So 5 made. But I would really have to make almost all of my shots to break that record. Go for one of my last shots here from the corner, or from the elbow rather, and I make it, so I've got 6, but I have to make all 5 of my shots, though I start well there, to be able to break the record. So I'm at 6, no good on the 7. So now I would have to make all of the shots, even to just tie the record, and I shoot, and I miss. So at this point, I know that I've lost. I have not been able to beat my score of 10 from my day 1. You can see I kind of chuck it up. I make it, but I've lost all my confidence. Really kind of upset here. And then I sort of heave up my last one, and I am unsuccessful. But I didn't feel right ending it there, so I gave it one more shot. Though I wasn't able to beat my record, I wanted to give it one more shot, give it an honest go. So I tried the drill one more time for my own sake, just to see if I could see the improvement. And I'm happy to say that I felt like this attempt really showed off what all the work was for. the end of day 7. It's the end of the challenge. Whew. I mean, I wasn't able to beat my shooting performance from the first day on my final attempt, which is, disappointing. But I think that it's almost like I kind of needed that, because it would have been nice to back up, obviously, my improvement with something tangible, some numbers or something that would, like, definitively prove that I've improved. I think just going at it the second time, not having that pressure on me, I felt like I was really more in control, and it was more representative of the work that I've done. And it's not even, if I were to try and do it a third time, I could get 5 or I could get 15, right? The drill itself is not meant to be the end-all be-all of whether I'm a good shooter or not, or whether I've improved or not. The way that I know that I've improved is that I feel like a better jump shooter. I feel like the work that I've put in over these past few days has manifested into something, right? It's not just, it's not a simple equation of this amount of time and this amount of shots will equal improvement, right? Because throughout this whole journey, I've had days that were up and down, and today might be a day that I look back and I'll say it was a down day, right? I wasn't able to beat my original goal that I set out with those parameters. But at the end of this journey, after the end of these 7 days, which really feels longer than 7 days, to be honest with you, probably the longest that I've played basketball consecutively, I can say confidently that I've improved my jump shot, and I've improved as a basketball player as a whole. And why I set out to do this, I'm not going pro. I don't even play basketball all that much, like recreationally or anything like that. I think I just wanted to prove to myself that I could improve, because there's so much, not to get philosophical, but there's so much in life that you can do and that you can work towards. And it's really hard to see tangible change, tangible improvement. And again, while the shooting performance maybe didn't represent that change, represent that progress or improvement, I felt it internally. And that feeling of improvement is so powerful and it's so motivating. And while I'm not going to be playing basketball continuously for the next 7 days, probably, maybe a little bit in between, I just feel really proud that I was able to do something and document it. And at the end of it all, there's this nice catharsis. There's this nice, like, ending. And even though it's not the perfect ending, it's not the fairy tale ending, I really do feel fulfilled in a way. And I hope that at least it was a little bit entertaining watching me go through the journey. So thank you if you did watch, and maybe we can do something like this again.